Nam is 26 years old this year. A freelance photographer living in Saigon. He has a calm, quiet personality and often chooses to be alone to better focus on his work. Every month, Nam rewards himself with a short trip, sometimes back to his hometown, sometimes to the beach, and sometimes just a few days in a strange hotel to change the atmosphere and shoot reference photos. That month, after a week of hard work on a travel project, Nam decided to take a 3-day break in Dalat. He didn't choose a resort or villa like usual but booked a small hotel in the Hung Vong area, a quiet place nestled behind a pine grove. The hotel was called Hua Suong, 3 stories tall, with a wooden facade and an old signboard. When Nam arrived, the clock had just struck 5 p.m., mist had fallen, and the air was chilly. He rolled his suitcase into the lobby. A young woman sitting behind the reception desk looked up and gave a gentle smile. "Hello, sir, you've made a reservation already, right?" Nam nodded. "My name's Nam, room 302, 3 days, 2 nights. The girl quickly checked the book and confirmed. "Yes, we have it. The room is ready. Here's the key, and the elevator is at the end of the lobby." Nam took the key, thanked her, and walked into the elevator. The receptionist called after him. "Sir, just a small hotel rule, after 11 p.m. Please avoid going out on the balcony or walking between floors." Nam frowned slightly. "Why is that?" She only smiled. "Probably because we're near the forest, so wild animals might be around. Some guests reported seeing shadows, but the security cameras didn't catch anything." Nam nodded, asking no further. Room 302 was at the far end of the 3rd-floor hallway. A large window faced the pine trees. Nam turned on the lights, set down his suitcase, and did a quick check of the room. Nothing unusual, simple, clean, dark wooden furniture, warm yellow lighting. He took out his camera, changed the lens, and opened the window, intending to take a few shots of the sunset drifting over the hills. A breeze blew in, cold and scented with leaves. Just then, Nam heard 3 soft knocks on the wall behind the bed. Knock, knock, knock. He turned around and asked quietly, "Is someone in the next room?" No reply. Nam stepped closer, pressing his ear to the wall. After a while, he heard 3 more knocks, this time slower. Knock, knock, knock. He frowned, picking up his phone. He opened the recording app. He recorded for several minutes. Nothing happened. Only when he stopped the recording and began to rise did the knocking return. But this time, it wasn't from the wall. It came from inside the wardrobe. Nam stood up, still staring at the closet door. The sound just now was unmistakable. It came from inside. There was no wind, no one else in the room, and he hadn't turned on the TV or any background music. He walked over slowly. His hand rested on the wooden door handle. A chill from it seeped through his sleeve. Nam exhaled slowly, then gently pulled the door open. No one was inside. Only a beige coat hung neatly. And below, a dark wooden box. Off to one side, lightly covered in dust. Nam bent down to pick it up. The box wasn't too heavy. About a foot long. On the lid, a single letter M was carved, but the carving was old, faded, and jagged. He muttered, "This doesn't belong to the hotel." Nam placed the box on the bed, took a tissue to wipe off the dust, and opened it. Inside was an old notebook with a peeling spine and a rusty fountain pen. He opened the notebook. The first line read, "Day 14, another night, and it's still standing on the balcony." Nam furrowed his brows. The second page, "Day 15, I tried closing the curtains tight, but it still knocks on the wardrobe door." The third page was blank, but in the middle was a smudged handprint, as if water had spread the ink. Nam flipped a few more pages and saw the handwriting becoming more erratic. Repeating the same sentence, "Don't look at it, don't answer it, don't open the door." He closed the notebook. When he looked up, the wardrobe door had shut on its own. That night, Nam went down to the lobby to find the receptionist. She was still at the desk, entering numbers. He brought the notebook over and asked softly, "Excuse me, there's a strange box in my room's closet. Do you know whose it is?" The girl looked up, a bit confused. "Box, sir? Room 302 has never had any items stored in the wardrobe." Nam placed the notebook down, pointing at the cover. Then, "Do you know who stayed in that room before me?" She fell silent for a moment, then lowered her head. I'm not sure, but last month a woman stayed in that room. She was alone, also for 3 days, 2 nights. On the last night, she didn't check out, didn't answer her phone. We went up to check, and the room was empty, the balcony door was open. But she was gone. Nam frowned. And then? The girl replied softly. A few days later, the police contacted us saying they found her ID floating in Zanhong Lake. That night, Nam didn't sleep. He placed the notebook next to his pillow, pulled the curtains tightly closed, and locked the wardrobe. At exactly 2 a.m., a soft knocking sound echoed. Knock, knock, knock. Nam sat up. The knocking wasn't from the main door, nor from the wardrobe. It came from outside the balcony door. He didn't open the curtain, just sat still, listening. The knocking continued. This time, 3 knocks, but in a different rhythm. Knock, knock, knock. The sound kept repeating, steadily. Knock, knock, knock. Outside, the wind rustled through the pines. No footsteps, no voices, only those dry, distant knocks echoing as if from far away. Nam got up, step by step approaching the curtain. His hand trembled slightly, eyes fixed on the softly swaying fabric. He whispered, "Don't look at it, don't answer, don't open the door." The words from the notebook repeated in his mind, but curiosity still pulled his hand. Nam reached for the corner of the curtain, gently pulling it aside, revealing just enough of a gap to see outside. On the balcony, there was someone, a woman with long hair, wearing a thin robe, was standing with her back to the glass door. Her arms hung limp, head slightly bowed, as if she were listening to some distant music. Nam swallowed hard. He had never seen anyone stand so still, so eerily silent. The woman didn't move. She didn't knock anymore. She just stood there, straight-backed, her hair covering almost her entire face. Nam whispered, barely audible, "Who are you?" The moment the question left his lips, the woman slowly tilted her head to one side. She didn't turn around, didn't speak. She just tilted her head, in a slow and unnatural angle until her neck nearly leaned entirely onto her shoulder. Nam took a step back. The curtain fell back into place on its own, closing off his view. For a moment, the room was utterly still. Then from somewhere, inside the room, came a whisper. "You looked." Nam spun around. No one was there. He rushed to check the wardrobe, still locked. The bathroom, empty. Under the bed, clear. Only the notebook, now lay open to a new page, even though he had closed it earlier. Nam walked over. Under the dim glow of the bedside lamp, a fresh line had just been written. "When someone looks, the next will be allowed to see." Nam froze. His hand turned cold. He asked himself, softly like a breeze, "See what?" No one answered, but from the direction of the window, the curtain began to sway again, even though the glass had been shut tightly for hours. The next morning, Nam brought the notebook down to the front desk. The day shift attendant was a middle-aged man, thin-build, named Uncle Kiet, the longtime manager of the hotel. Nam placed the notebook on the counter and asked quietly, "Uncle, this, who left it behind?" Uncle Kiet stared at it for a moment, then let out a quiet sigh. It belonged to a past guest. A few years back, also stayed in room 302. One night, he ran down to the front desk in the middle of the night, shirt soaked in sweat, holding the notebook saying, "I don't want it to follow me anymore." After that, he left it behind and took a taxi out of Dalat that very night. Nam stayed silent, eyes fixed on the faded handwriting. Uncle Kiet asked softly, "Last night, you saw it, didn't you?" Nam answered slowly, "It was on the balcony." Back turned, knocked 3 times, then tilted its head. Uncle Kiet nodded. "If it's only standing outside, that's still lucky. But once someone hears it speak, the next time, it comes inside. It doesn't use the door. It enters, when you repeat the very words it once said." Nam tightened his grip on the notebook. He knew he had already said the words. Nam returned to his room with a heavy heart. Before closing the door, he paused for a few seconds. Looking down the hallway, no one was there. Wind from the hallway window blew in, carrying the scent of pine and old wood. The exact scent from the night before, when he stood by the curtain and saw the figure on the balcony. He locked the door, drew the curtains, turned off the main lights, and left only a small bedside lamp glowing in the corner. The notebook was now inside the drawer, along with the pen and wooden box. Nam wanted to put them away, as if doing so could make everything he saw vanish. But deep down he knew, nothing disappears just because you stop looking at it. That afternoon, Nam received a call from a friend, Long, who was also a photographer. He picked up the call while grabbing his coat, planning to step out to the cafe across from the hotel. Long's voice came through the phone, laughing. "Where have you been hiding these past few days, man?" Nam replied, trying to sound casual. "I'm in Dalat, taking a short break." Long asked curiously, "Still at the same hotel? That place on Tran Hung Dao Street?" Nam shook his head and spoke softly. "No, I tried something new this time. Hua Suong Hotel, at the end of Hung Vong Street." There was a pause on the other end. Then Long said quietly, "Hey, wasn't that the hotel where some lady went missing? Did you Google it yet?" Nam stopped. He clenched the phone, his voice lowering. "No, and don't say another word." Long chuckled, scared. "Huh? No one's touched you. But rumor has it, the third floor room's there. Someone once saw a figure in the mirror. And when they turned around, it wasn't them anymore." Nam went silent, not because he was scared, but because Long had just repeated an exact line from the notebook last night. When they turned around, it wasn't them anymore. Nam ended the call right after. He went back to his room, locked all the doors, and turned on every light. That night, he didn't sleep. He couldn't. When the clock struck 2 a.m., the curtains began to sway gently. The wind wasn't strong. The windows were locked. Nam sat on the bed, fists clutching the blanket, eyes unblinking. There were no knocking sounds this time. No warning. No signal. Only a figure, now standing inside the curtains. Nam began to breathe heavily. He didn't dare look long. Didn't dare call out. Didn't dare repeat any of the words again. That figure stood still. Didn't move forward. Didn't say a word. And after a while, it tilted its head. Just like the first night. But this time, her head wasn't tilting toward the door. It was tilting toward Nam. The next morning, Nam went down to the lobby to check out. The same receptionist from the first day looked up and asked in surprise, "Oh, Mr. Nam, it's only your second day. Are you checking out early?" Nam gave a slight nod. Eyes dark and tired. "I'm changing places. This place feels a bit too cold." The receptionist smiled, not asking further. Before leaving, Nam left the notebook, the wooden box, and a small note at the front desk. On the note, he had written, "If someone sees it, don't ask, don't respond. If you hear it speak, don't repeat the words. Everything begins when we repeat what isn't ours." Nam left the hotel in the early morning mist, backpack slung across his shoulder. He didn't look back. He didn't take a single photo. He knew, some things, once captured in a frame, would remain there forever. Room 302. 4 days later. The new guest was a woman named Mai, 27 years old, a primary school teacher taking time off to find peace and quiet in Dalat to read. She booked the room through a travel app, didn't pay much attention to the reviews. She just saw forest view and clicked. Mai rolled her suitcase into the room just after 5 p.m. The sunlight was fading, gray clouds gathering. She turned on the lights, pulled the curtains back to let in some light, then opened the wardrobe to hang her coat. The moment she opened it, she paused. A dark wooden box was neatly placed in the corner of the wardrobe, as if someone had just left it there. She frowned and muttered, "Probably something from the last guest." Mai placed the box on the desk and opened the lid. Inside was a thin notebook, the handwriting messy but still legible. The first page read, "If you see it, don't ask, don't respond. If you hear it speak, don't repeat it. Everything begins when we repeat what isn't ours." Mai raised an eyebrow and chuckled to herself. Must be some story writer leaving a spooky quote for fun. She didn't read further, nor did she care much. She put the notebook back into the wardrobe, closed the door, and lay down to rest. The air was chilly. The room was still. At the same time, in Saigon, Nam was home, his small room down an alley, familiar and cluttered with camera gear and tangled chargers. He sat by the desk, flipping through the photos he took in Dalat, his eyes empty. On the camera, there were no photos of Hua Suong Hotel. No balcony, no wardrobe, no figure. Only pine trees, mist, and a series of photos, blurry, as if the focus had been pulled off. Nam turned off the camera. Rain started falling. As the rhythmic sound tapped on the tin roof, he heard something familiar. Knock, knock, knock. Nam snapped his head around. No one was in the room. The window was shut. He walked over, hands trembling as he opened it, then froze. On the glass, there were 3 faint handprints. Staggered, like someone had knocked from outside. Nam swallowed hard, whispering, "Number way." Back in Dalat, Mai had just turned off the lights to sleep. Around midnight, she was startled awake by a faint clatter coming from the wardrobe. Mai turned on the bedside lamp, calling softly, "Is someone there?" No answer. She stepped out of bed, opened the wardrobe, empty. But the notebook from earlier was lying on the floor. She picked it up and opened it. The latest page had a new line that wasn't there before. "I'm still being seen." In Saigon, Nam sat silently on his bed. He couldn't sleep. He reached into his backpack, feeling for the old notebook, the one he thought he'd left at the hotel. But clearly, it was here, right in his hand. Nam whispered, "I already left it behind." The first page was the same, but now the second page had an added line. "Once you've seen it, you're never alone again." The next morning, Mai went down to the lobby, carrying the notebook with the intention of returning it, just like the person before her. The receptionist from yesterday was still there, smiling when she saw Mai. "Did you sleep well, ma'am?" Mai smiled back and joked. "It was a little cold last night, maybe because the room faces the forest." The receptionist nodded. "Yes, our rooms aren't fully soundproof, so if you hear some light noises, it's normal, ma'am." Mai placed the notebook on the counter, pointing at the text. Did a guest leave it behind? Should I give it to the manager?" The receptionist looked at the notebook, hesitated briefly, then lowered her head. "That has been left behind many times. We've stored it, burned it, even thrown it out, but every few months, a guest brings it back again." Mai shivered slightly. "So do you know what's written in it?" The receptionist replied quietly, "I don't dare read it. Everyone who holds it tells a different story. But the one thing in common is, no one ever stays all 3 nights." Mai clenched her hand. She decided to stay. She wanted to know who, or what, was truly present in that room. At the same time in Saigon, Nam had just woken from a restless sleep. He sat up, seeing the night light still on, the curtains tightly drawn. Everything seemed normal, but something felt off. He stepped into the bathroom and turned on the light. The mirror was fogged up, though he hadn't taken a shower. He wiped the surface gently and stood silently. The reflection in the mirror was him, but the moment he turned away, the reflection remained still. Nam froze and looked back straight into the mirror. Now, the reflection finally started to move again, but slower, a few beats behind, like a delayed video feed. He stepped back, whispering, "No way." The mirror echoed his voice, but in it was a faint laugh, and it wasn't his. Nam ran out of the bathroom, frantically searching for the notebook again. The latest page still had fresh ink. "I've been standing behind the mirror for 3 nights. And you only just realized." Dalat, night 2. Mai lay still on the bed, night light off, only a faint glow from outside slipping in through the edge of the curtain. Silence, but the warning from the notebook echoed in her mind. "If you see it, don't ask, don't respond." Suddenly, the wardrobe creaked open just slightly. Mai didn't move. She stayed still, eyes shut tight, heart pounding. From the narrow gap in the wardrobe came a whisper. So cold. A woman's voice, small, hoarse, and broken. Mai clenched her teeth, refusing to answer. But the voice repeated, this time clearer. "Can you hear me? It's so cold?" Mai shot up, unable to hold it in anymore. She snapped, "If you want something, then come out and show yourself." At that very moment, the night light blew out. From within the wardrobe, a pale hand slowly reached out, gripping the door's edge. The girl began crawling out. In Saigon, Nam was pounding on the door of his best friend's place. Long opened the door and froze. "Wait, weren't you in Dalat?" Nam answered, voice raw. "I came back. Long, let me borrow a mirror." Long frowned. "What? Why?" Nam stared at him, breathing hard. "I'm not sure the person who came back that night was really me." Dalat, room 302. Mai backed into the corner of the bed. That hand was still protruding from the wardrobe, thin, deathly pale like it had been soaked in water. Fingers stiff, long black nails. The girl inside was crawling out little by little, strands of wet hair dragging along the tiled floor like something no longer human. I held her breath, gripping the small flashlight on the bedside table. Her hand trembled, but she never took her eyes off the figure. She whispered, "I'm not the one who called you. I didn't say your name. Please, go away." The figure paused, didn't rise, didn't crawl closer, only lifted her head. A pale, indistinct female face, hair covering half her eyes. Her lips barely parted, but the voice came from within the wardrobe, not from her mouth. Someone already repeated it. That person took me with them. I froze. Her breath hitched, voice shaky. "You mean, the person before me? Nam?" The figure didn't answer, just withdrew its hand. The wardrobe slammed shut, as if it had never opened. Saigon, Long's apartment. Nam stared at himself in the mirror, red eyes. Skin pale like blood had drained from his body. Long stood behind him, concerned. "Bro, you haven't rested properly. You look like you just woke up from somewhere other than Saigon." Nam placed his hand on the mirror. The hand in the reflection moved half a beat slower. He spoke without blinking. "One time I read a line in the notebook. When you look in the mirror, I'll be behind your right eye. Back then, I thought it was just creepy nonsense." Long shivered. "Do you need a doctor? Or should I come with you back to Dalat to check?" Nam shook his head. "No, I'm never going back there. But there's something you have to help me with." Long nodded. "Anything, just tell me." Nam gripped his friend's shoulders tightly. Voice low and serious. "If one day you see me standing at your door, don't open it, even if I call your name correctly. Even if I text you the right number. If I say, 'I'm cold, let me in,' don't open it." Long took a half step back, eyes wide. "What are you saying?" Nam whispered. "Because the one knocking might not be me." Room 302 pre-dawn. Mai curled up on the bed. She didn't turn on the light, didn't open the curtains, didn't touch the wardrobe. On the table, the notebook lay open, pages flipping on their own whenever the wind blew. The wind wasn't strong, but each turned page was already written. Mai picked it up and read under the flashlight. The newest page read, "I won't appear if you don't speak. I won't step out if you don't look. I can't enter unless you say my name." Mai whispered, "But what's your name?" At that exact moment, a new line appeared, as if being written right in front of her. "I used to be Mai." She froze. Her throat went dry. Her chest tightened like something was gripping it. "No way." The next page flipped open. "I'm the one you're replacing." In Saigon, Nam was dreaming. In his dream, he saw the hallway of Hua Suong Hotel, long, dark, and cold. Room 302 had its door slightly ajar. He walked in. No one was there, only a mirror, hanging across from the window. He stepped closer and looked in. In the mirror was himself. But standing behind him was Mai. She wore a white dress, her hair down, her eyes empty. But she was whispering, in Nam's own voice. "You saw it too, didn't you?" Nam screamed. "I don't want to see it anymore." When he woke up, the notebook was still in his hand, even though he clearly remembered leaving it elsewhere. Dalat, Day 3. Mai hadn't slept all night. She sat in the corner of the bed, dark circles under her eyes, holding her phone but not daring to call anyone. Not because there was no signal, but because the newest page in the notebook read, "You will never truly be able to call out. Because once you've seen me, all connections only reach inward." Mai looked up at the wardrobe, still closed, but through the slight crack, she saw a dim light coming from within, like a flickering bulb had just been turned on. She shut her eyes, whispering to herself, "Don't say the name, don't ask, don't look back." But then, a breeze blew through the window gap, carrying a strange scent, a smell like old clothes locked away for years. She couldn't take it anymore. She stood up and, for the first time, opened the wardrobe herself. Saigon, noon. Nam was cleaning the house. He couldn't remember when he fell asleep. Couldn't remember what he had eaten. Couldn't remember if the conversation with Long had actually happened or was just a dream. All he knew was that in his camera, there was a new photo, one he didn't take. A photo of a man looking into a mirror. But the mirror didn't reflect his face. It reflected a woman with long hair. He zoomed in. Her eyes were completely white. And, in the bottom right corner, handwritten, "I used to be called Mai." Nam whispered. Wasn't she already replaced? He reopened the notebook. A new page had flipped open. the ink still not fully dry. Whoever brings me back, I won't leave. Nam stepped back. He thought about the dreams he had recently, hallways, mirrors, and eyes staring at him from behind the reflection. He feared one thing. Was the person living in this body really him? Somewhere else, unknown location. A third person sat before a wooden desk, flipping through the pages of the old notebook. It was unclear if they were male or female. Unclear if it was day or night. That person wrote a tiny line in the margin of the notebook. They all think they're the last. But I was the first. A soft chuckle echoed, light as wind. Their hand turned to the center of the notebook, where the very first lines were written. Don't ask, don't answer, don't repeat. That person struck through the line, don't repeat, with a dark stroke. Then replaced it with another. If anyone repeats it, then I will return. Dalat, inside the wardrobe. I saw another room inside. Not a familiar space, but a mirrored room, identical to room 302. But everything reversed. The mirror on the left was now on the right. The bed flipped direction. The old wooden desk had an extra flickering oil lamp. And in that room, someone was sitting, turned away, head bowed, long hair flowing down to the floor. Mai took one step in, feeling weightless. She asked, voice trembling, "Who are you?" The person didn't answer, only lifted their head. And Mai saw her own face. But it was a face with hollow, lifeless eyes. Dalat, inside the wardrobe. Mai stood frozen in the middle of the mirrored room. It was identical to room 302, except everything was half a step off. The mirror on the left was now on the right. The bed looked the same, but the sheets were covered in a thin layer of dust. The room had no windows. There was only a single girl sitting with her back turned, hair cascading long, unmoving. Mai exhaled softly, taking slow steps forward, and whispered, "I didn't say your name. I didn't call you. If I turn back now, I won't remember anything, will I?" The figure stayed silent. Mai reached out, touching the girl's shoulder. The moment her hand made contact, the girl turned her head. The face was exactly like Mai's, but the eyes were completely white. No pupils. Her mouth parted slightly in a smile. But the voice came from behind Mai, not from her mouth. "You just crossed the boundary. From this side, no one remembers you anymore." Saigon, afternoon. Nam walked through the familiar alley. He stopped at the lunch stall at the alley's entrance, the place he ate at every day. The shop owner looked at him, puzzled. Who are you looking for?" Nam froze. He smiled faintly. "It's me. I eat here every day. Pork chop rice, herbal tea, don't you remember me?" The shop owner shook her head. "Sorry, I don't remember you. You got the wrong place." Nam turned away and saw someone at the back table glance at him. Then quickly looked down, as if trying to avoid interaction. He returned to Long's house and rang the bell. Long came out and cracked the door open. But his eyes were cold. Who are you?" Nam stood frozen. "It's me, Nam. Long, don't mess around." Long tilted his head, suspicious. "Sorry, I don't know you. Please don't come back." The door slammed shut. Nam gripped his backpack strap tightly and stepped back a few paces. He opened his phone, tapped into his contacts. Long's name was no longer there. Dalat, the mirrored room. Mai still stood face to face with herself. The other girl had now stood up. Her movements were slow, her head tilted slightly, as if she couldn't keep her balance. She asked, her voice echoing from all directions, "Do you think you walked in, or were pulled in?" Mai whispered, "I chose to walk in. I wanted to know the truth. No one comes in here to find truth. You came in, because out there, no one remembers you anymore." Mai stepped back. She reached for the wardrobe door, but there was no way out. Only the mirror. And in the reflection, it wasn't her. It was Nam. Somewhere else, time unknown. The third person, the one writing in the notebook, continued with a new line. The first repeated what shouldn't be said. The second entered what shouldn't be seen. The third will rewrite everything. The writing stopped. A gust of wind blew past. The page fluttered softly. The person closed the notebook and placed it into a dark wooden box. On the lid, a faint engraving. Room 302 inches. Saigon. Late at night. Nam sat alone in a small park. No one looked at him. No one touched him. A child ran past, accidentally bumping into his shoulder, but didn't react, as if he hadn't seen anyone there. Nam opened the notebook, blank pages. No more writing, no more lines. Just a single sentence written in red ink. You may leave, but I will be the one who stays. Nam looked around. In the lake across from him, the water did not reflect his image. The mirrored room, inside the wardrobe. Mai stood in front of the mirror, which no longer showed her reflection. She reached out and touched the cold surface. A familiar voice came from behind her, her own voice, but distorted. To return, someone else must take your place. To leave here, you must leave behind a new name. Mai spun around. The copy of her still stood there, wide-eyed, expressionless. She asked slowly, "Who was the first?" No one remembers. They only remember the last one to survive. And the one writing the notebook? Who is that? The girl smirked. You, if you don't get out of here. Mai stepped back, looking around. No doors, no light, only the mirror, and the notebook lying in the center of the room. Still open to a blank page. Saigon, near midnight. Nam sat on the rooftop of the apartment building, the same place he used to shoot photos when he was freelancing. He raised his camera, but couldn't capture any lights. No buildings, no people, not even his own reflection in the lens. Nam reopened the notebook. A new page had appeared, written in slightly slanted handwriting. Choose, write the name of the one who stays. He whispered, "It's a trap, I can't write." At that moment, a strong wind blew through, flipping the notebook to the next page. "If you don't write, then the other will write your name." Nam shut his eyes, feeling the palm of his hand, as if he were holding something that didn't belong to his body. A small voice whispered in his mind, soft as breath, "You came back, but not completely. To be yourself again, you must leave a part behind." Nam screamed, "I don't choose. I'm not replacing anyone." But the notebook still displayed its final line. "Then you will be the one replaced." The mirrored room, same moment. Mai stood in front of the notebook. A blank page suddenly filled with names. Mai, crossed out. Nam, fresh ink, trembling strokes. She froze. Her lips moved. No, he didn't write it. He couldn't have. She reached out to cover the name, tears streaming down her face. "If only one person can return, I choose him." The notebook trembled. The page edges ignited, a faint scent of burning paper spreading, then vanishing. The mirror in front of her began to reflect again, but now it showed Nam. He was curled up on the rooftop, arms wrapped around his head, the notebook no longer beside him. Mai whispered, "You've made it back." The light in the mirrored room suddenly went out. Saigon, early morning. Nam opened his eyes. The dawn breeze was cool and light. He looked around, cars moved below. Distant skyscraper lights flickered dimly. An old man passing by paused and greeted him. "It's early. Son, don't lie out here, you'll catch a cold." Nam looked up. The man could see him. He shot up, breathing hard, eyes red. Everything was clear now, real. He pulled out his phone. Long's name had returned in his contacts. But, in his backpack, the notebook was gone, and in his mind, Mai's final voice still echoed. If only one person can return. 1 week later, Saigon. Nam sat in front of his laptop, blue light reflecting in his eyes. He reopened the folder of old photos he'd taken in Dalat. One by one, he scrolled through each misty frame, each damp wooden house, until the final photo, a shot of the mirror in room 302. He zoomed in. At the bottom edge of the mirror, faint and blurred, was a black smear. It wasn't clear if it was hair or a shadow. Nam whispered, eyes locked on the screen. "Mike, can you still hear me?" He sat in silence. No one replied. But in the corner of the screen, the speaker icon lit up. The volume began rising on its own. A soft female voice whispered from the laptop speaker. "Go back to that room, and you'll find out." Nam shuddered. He jumped up, opened his backpack, nothing inside. No notebook, no papers, no printed photos, only a hotel room key. On the back of the tag, 302 Hua Suong. Dalat, Hua Suong Hotel. The young receptionist welcomed guests with a faint smile. A couple had just walked in. The man asked, "Do you have any rooms with a forest view?" The receptionist replied, "Yes, we only have room 302 left. But it's a bit old." The girl giggled. "Even better. I like old, it's unique." The man turned to her. "Okay, we'll take that one." The receptionist handed over the key. Speaking softly, "Room 302, if you need anything, just call the front desk." The two turned and left, not paying attention. But when the elevator doors closed, the receptionist glanced at the notebook sitting on the counter. Its cover was worn, pages yellowed, and it was still open to a single page. That page read, "When the third person continues writing, I will fall silent again." That night, room 302. Nam had returned to the hotel. He stepped into the room. Unchanged, single bed, old wooden wardrobe, fogged mirror. He didn't take photos, didn't turn on the lights. He simply sat down and stared at the wardrobe. He asked softly, as if speaking to the empty air, "Are you still here?" No reply. But the wardrobe rattled, as if something inside had shifted. Nam leaned down, opened his backpack, and pulled out a notebook. He wasn't sure when he brought it. He placed the notebook on the table and opened the first page. It was blank. He picked up a pen. But this time, he didn't write anything. He simply set the pen down and walked out of the room. Next morning, hotel reception. The young receptionist knocked on room 302. No response. She opened the door. The room was empty. Clean. No sign anyone had stayed the night. Only a notebook lying neatly on the desk. She picked it up and flipped through a few pages. One page opened in the middle. The handwriting was familiar. The ink of someone who had written months before. No one ever goes first. The writer is simply the one waiting for the next. She closed the notebook and placed it back exactly where it had been. Then turned to the new guests entering the lobby that morning. "If you'd like a forest view room, we still have 302 available."